Hello, so today's video, and I've sort of done this before, but this will be an improved version, is basically, are cheek filter masks still useful for anything? Now, obviously, when these masks were designed, although I don't think cheek filters were the best design ever, I will admit, obviously, they'd have done their job when they were new. If you had this mask and you had a brand new filter in it, that was up to the standard of the time, it would have offered a very similar level of protection to other respirators around. So that's not the problem. The problem is that today, as far as I'm aware, none of the old cheek filter masks, so let's say the US M17, the Soviet PBF, and then all of the other Warsaw Pact ones like this, so the Czech M10 and the M10M, and the Bulgarian is it the PG one or the PDE one? I think it's the PDE one, and the Polish MP4, for example. I don't think anybody makes filters for them anymore. Now, I will get comments where people are like, oh, but there's a seller saying they're selling new filters. From what I've seen on all of those, and again, I might be wrong, they're normally always like new old stock, as in a sealed filter like wrapped in foil from the 1980s. But it's not actually a new filter, it's not newly produced, with new expiry dates. It's still essentially new old stock. So if we're going to assume then that all the filters you can get for these masks are expired, are these masks actually good for stuff still? And the answer is yes, but not necessarily full on, protection. So the reason I sort of thought this would be a good day to do the video, I don't know if you can tell from my voice, although I've taken antihistamines today, I've been out walking the dogs, and I've got, obviously some pollen down me, which is giving me a bit of a tight chest. It's making me a bit wheezy with my asthma. So obviously one thing these masks will still do, so we're going to assume that the standard filters for most of these are ones that offer a combination of chemical protection and particle protection, because I know some of these masks had particle only ones for training, for example, and then chemical only ones, but I think most of them were done as a combination filter like most masks. It gives you some particle protection, when the air passes through the cheek filter, and then there's charcoal that's impregnated with stuff inside to, remove chemicals from it before the air then passes through another side of the filter and the particle layer before, going into your nose and mouth. So, essentially, if we're going to assume the filters like that, one of the things they will definitely do is protect you from particles like hay fever pollens and stuff like that. So if you bought one of these masks today, if you really wanted to wear it while out and about, cutting the grass or doing something like that, it would protect you from pollens in the air. Similarly, dust in your house if you're dusting or doing any masonry or whatever. So if you're drilling into a wall and lots of wall insulation comes spitting out, plaster, anything else like that, that would protect you from breathing those in. Again, I don't think the particle rating on these filters is up to a P3 standard. I think it's basically probably a P2 based on the old ones. But, it's certainly better than nothing, especially if you don't have a modern sort of dust mask style, like proper half-face dust mask. Obviously, it will protect your eyes as well, in the sense that, if there's anything nasty in the air that will irritate your eyes, it won't get into your eyes. So I've seen these used by people, to test pepper sprays and tear gases and things like that. Regarding tear gas, a lot of these old filters still offer a decent amount of protection from tear gas, because of the fact that if it's very basic tear gas and it's mostly a particulate, the particle sections of the filters will still probably work, and what's left of the charcoal stuff will absorb some of the stuff coming through. So you've got those sort of things. Now, one thing it will protect you from, because, particle filters don't really expire unless they start crumbling, is radioactive particles, as in fallout. Now, again, I said I'd much rather have a modern mask with a very modern filter on it, but if there was radioactive dust flying around from some sort of, nuclear fallout, or dust that's been kicked up from some isotopes that have, had something done with them, it will protect you from inhaling the particles, which will do the most damage to you. Now, obviously, the mask's going to cut down. No alpha radiation is going to make it through this mask at all. Beta radiation, if it's hard enough, will penetrate the mask, and gamma rays and X-rays will go through no issue. So it will cut down your exposure externally to radiation, but the main thing is it stops you inhaling radioactive particles. Now, similarly to when we were saying about household stuff, if the charcoal section of the filter is still working, you could definitely use this for, say, spray painting, working with some chemicals that aren't dangerous, but they're not good to be breathed in. I'm thinking things like, stuff that's in a concentrated area, concentrated spray in a small area. Say you're, like I say, with spray paint or any sort of thing, like maybe isopropyl alcohol, sort of, all of that sort of stuff. Or maybe like weed killers, pesticides, things like that, you're meant to wear protection when using or use in a ventilated space. So this would definitely give you better odds than using it, just as is. So again, there's probably things I've missed on this video, but the point is that yes, if you are able to pick up one of these pretty cheap, or any of the cheap filter masks, bear in mind the XM28, as far as I'm aware, didn't ever come with NBC style filters. It was just particle filters for use against, riot agents and things like that. But the majority of these masks would actually have, would still work if you managed to pick one up cheap and couldn't afford anything else.